Good afternoon, student. I am Dr. Jayashree Naran and I will teach you economics. As we know that in the first year BCom, we have learnt microeconomics. In the second year, we have learnt macroeconomics. And now in the third year, we are going to learn Indian economy, which is a branch of macroeconomics. The name of the subject is Indian economy recent trends. I would like to share first syllabus of Indian economy. The syllabus of Indian economy, semester 5, TY BCom, is uploaded on the V. Narmasar Gujarat University. The website address is www.vnsgu.co.in. The whole syllabus is divided into 4 units. All the units carry equal weightage, that is 25%. Unit 1 has 3 parts. First part explains about Niti Aayog. In this chapter, we will learn circumstances leading to the setting up of the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog replaces Planning Commission. With the change of the central government in New Delhi in May 2014, the new government replaced the 65 years old Planning Commission, a leftover from the socialist era, with a Niti Aayog or National Institute for Transforming India, making a major shift in policy making states. The first Prime Minister of the country, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, only through a cabinet resolution, had set up the Planning Commission in March 1950. Likewise, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, only on the basis of a cabinet resolution, has set up the Niti Aayog. We will learn the objectives and composition of Niti Aayog and how Niti Aayog is different from the earlier planning. In the second chapter, we will learn sectoral changes in Indian economy during the planning period. We know that economy is divided basically into 3 sectors: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. For-reaching changes have occurred in the Indian economy during the last 6.5 decades, of which the most important one is that Indian economy is fast transforming itself from an underdeveloped economy to a rapid growing developed economy. I said developing economy. So we will learn in this chapter quantitative changes as well as qualitative changes occurs in the Indian economy during the planning period. In the third chapter, that is federal finance, we will learn evolution of the federal finance in India. Now one question arises, what is the meaning of federal finance? So I will briefly introduce you. Federal finance is that financial system where there is a clear-cut division of the functions and financial powers of the union and the state governments. Both the centers and state constitutes units. That is, the states are assigned certain specific resources of revenue. The residuary power, however, belongs to the union, but there are provisions for sharing the revenue of certain taxes between the union and the states. So we will learn in this chapter the evolution of federal finance in India, constitution, provision relating of federal finance of India, recommendation of the 14th Finance Commission and the current Finance Commission. In Unit 2, we will learn about the human resource development in India and trends in Human Development Index. Of all the factors which affects the economic growth and the development of a country, human resource is an important determinant. A country may have abundance of physical and natural wealth, but if it does not possess requisite human resources which can put this wealth into productive use, it cannot hope to attain rapid economic development. Until late 50s of the 12th century, economists and social scientists did not pay much attention to the role of investment in human beings as an important determinant of economic development. In recent years, however, the concept of human capital and human resources development has came to occupy an important place in the strategy of development. So in this chapter, we will learn meaning of human resource development and its important. What is human development? Human Development Index and redefine Human Development Index 2010. Human Development Trends in India. Human Development Report, current Human Development Report. Human Poverty Index, the concept of Gender Related Development Index and Gender Empowerment Measure as per Human Development Report. Main observations of the recently published Human Development Reports with reference to India and Human Happiness Index. These things we will learn in the second unit. The unit 3 is divided again into three parts. So the first chapter or the first part teaches us about the importance and industrialization in Indian economy, its characteristics and the problems. Industrialization plays a vital role in the economic development of underdeveloped countries or developing countries. In fact, in modern times, industrialization has come to be regarded as synonyms with economic development. The essential criteria to distinguish a developed economy from an underdeveloped one relates to the level of per capita income, share of industry and service sector in the gross domestic product, and the proportion of working population engaged in the industry and tertiary sectors of the economy. Normally speaking, in developed countries, per capita income is at a higher level. Share of industry and service sector in its gross domestic product is quite substantial, and high proportion of its labor force is found to be engaged in industry and service sector. So we will learn in this chapter role of industrialization in a developed economy, industrial development in India during the planning period, salient feature of industrial growth in India during the planning period. So these things we will learn in the unit 3. As well as we will learn industrial policy of the government of India. We will learn the features of current industrial policy and its evolution. The third chapter of unit 3 is agro-based industries, concept and importance, in which we will learn importance of agro-based industry in India's agrarian economy, problem of agro-based industries, measures to solve the problem of agro-based industries. So this unit 3 contains 3 chapter or 3 part. Okay, now we will talk about the unit 4. In the first part of unit 4, we will learn performance and limitation of public sector industries in India. We will learn about the growth of public sector during the planning period, causes of expansion of public sector, role of public sector in the Indian economy, evaluation of the working of the public sector enterprises, suggestions for improving the working of the public sector enterprises, redefining the role of public sector in the industrial policy of 1991. So we will learn about the public sector in the first part of unit 4. In the second chapter or the second part of unit 4, we will learn about the role and importance of Small scale industries in Indian economy. We know that small scale and cottage industries occupy an important place in the Indian economy in terms of employment, growth, output, export, earnings, etc. The range of these industries is from the age-old household industries to modern mechanized small-scale units. So we will learn the importance of small-scale industries, progress made by micro, small, and medium enterprises, problems of small-scale industries, measures to promote small-scale industries, Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006, place of small-scale and cottage industries in the industrial policy, development of small-scale and village industries under the 5-year plans, main recommendation and Abid Hussain Committee on small-scale industries, impact of economic reforms on small-scale industries. So these topics we will learn in this chapter. Now we'll talk about industrial pollution. We observe that industrialization in India in recent years has caused a severe problem of pollution, which has a deleterious effects on environmental scenario leading to ecological imbalances. Various forms of pollution like air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, etc., resulting from rapid but haphazard industrial growth are indeed a matter of grave concern for the society at large. Although anti-pollution measures have recently been initiated by the government, but owing to its ineffective implementation, the results are not up to expectations. So in the last chapter, we will learn the problems of industrial pollution and environment, in which we will learn conservation and protection of environment, a global problem, as a global problem, agriculture, rural development and environment, industrialization, urbanization and environment, environment policy in India, evaluation of the measures taken by the government for environmental protection, World Health Organization report on pollution, May 2018. So we will learn these things in the TY BigCom in the subject of Indian economy. So we will start to learn Indian economy, the new subject. I have chosen a very easy concept, that is agro-based industry. So we'll start with the agro-based industry. The concept of agro-based industries. Basically, the concept of agro-based industry is related directly or indirectly to those industries which are related to our agriculture. Thus, for example, dairy industry, cattle breeding industry, beekeeping industry, etc. are agro-based industries, as well as those industries which help in raising agriculture productivity, like unit producing improved seeds, manures and fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides, unit producing farm equipments and farm machinery, as also units which provide facilities for repair and renewal of farm equipments, etc., are agro-based industries and occupy an important place in the agrarian economy of our country. The development of these industries have an important role to play in accelerating agriculture growth rate. Looked at from one point of view, agro-based industries help in rapid and a higher growth rate of agriculture, and on the other hand, a higher growth rate of agriculture lead to an increasing growth we can say that a higher growth rate of agriculture lead to an increasing growth rate of agro-based industries. Thus, for example, an increase in the agriculture growth rate by increasing the demand for agro-based industries like dairy farming, cattle breeding, beekeeping, etc., lead to a rapid rise in farm income and bring about substantial improvement in the living standards of the farmers. Thus, agriculture growth rate and growth rate of agro-based industries are interrelated to each other. Both help in the development of each other. A higher agriculture growth rate lead to higher growth rate of agro-based industry and vice versa. Let it be remembered that agro-based industries occupy an important place in our agrarian economy. We know that the income of an average farmer is relatively very low, and one of main causes for this is low agricultural productivity and very low and unremunerative prices which the farmers get for their produce. Of course, the government has tried to assure minimum support prices to the farmers for their produce. One question arises here: what's the meaning of minimum support price? Minimum support price, MSP, stands for agriculture product price set by the Government of India to purchase directly from farmers. This rate is safeguard to the farmers to a minimum profit for the harvest. If the open market has lesser price than the cost increase. Now, we are on the point that the government has tried to assure minimum support prices to the farmers for their produce. Yet because of its ineffective and inefficient implementation, as also mass corruption amongst officials, the benefits of minimum support price have gone more to the middleman and middle agencies. Many a times, the farmers do not get even the minimum support price for their produce, which result in low income and high indebtedness of the farmers, driving them to take extreme step of committing suicide. Accordingly, the government in recent years have taken certain steps in this direction. The farmers, the growth and development of various agro-based industries have been found to be essential. The development of such industries help in providing supplementary income and supplementary employment to the farmers. In the context of our goal to double the farm income by 2020, the development of agro-based industries plays an important role. Really, if we want to achieve this goal, we have to give a lot importance to the agro-based industry. Now, we will learn importance of agro-based industry according to the different aspects. The first, we can say that by providing supplementary employment. Agro-based industries like dairy industry, cattle breeding, beekeeping, etc. provide supplementary employment to the farmers. We know that still in many parts of the country, agriculture occupation does not provide full-time employment to the farmers. The farmers have practically little work or no work in the farms for about 3 to 4 months in the year. In this context, agro-based industries can provide supplementary employment to the farmers and enable them to use this spare time in a most productive way. है ना, 3-4 महीने जब फसलें नहीं होती तब उनको काम चाहिए, तो वो क्या करते हैं, एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्रीज जो भी है, बी कीपिंग है, कैटल रिलेटेड है, फिर इक्विपमेंट जो लगते हैं फार्मिंग में उनकी रिपेयर है, उन सब में इन्वॉल्व हो सकते हैं, जिससे उनकी इनकम और एम्प्लॉयमेंट दोनों जनरेट होती है. सेकेंड, by providing supplementary income is the same. If they will get employment, they will get income from the agro-based industry. As said earlier, that the income of an average farmer in India is quite low. We know that. हमें पता ही है कि फार्मर्स की इनकम बहुत कम है. अब इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात करें तो और मतलब उनकी इनकम इतनी कम है कि उनको साइड बिजनेस या साइड इनकम जनरेट करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी. So, in this context of our goal to double the farmers' income by 2020, the development of agro-based industries can help in achieving this objective. अगर हमें 2022 तक डबल करनी है फार्मर्स के इनकम, तो एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्रीज का सहारा तो लेना ही पड़ेगा, कोई उसका अल्टरनेटिव नहीं है. क्योंकि सिर्फ अगर हम एग्रीकल्चर बेस्ड इनकम बात करते हैं फार्मर्स की, तो जो हमें गोल अचीव करना है वो हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. Such industries, by providing supplementary incomes to the farmers, help in bringing about an improvement in their living standards. So we can say that agro-based industries are important for providing supplementary income. Now, these industries, the agro-based industries, are also labor intensive. Agro-based industries are by their very nature labor intensive, we know. They require less capital to produce a given output. As such, these industries are more suitable for countries which are characterized by shortage of capital and abundance of labor. We know that Indian economy is a labor-intensive economy. So according to the characteristics, we can say that we have to uh, develop the agro-based industry so we can engage more and more labor in the agro-based industry, and labor can get income as well as employment. The next point is low capital output ratio. One question arises here: what's the meaning of capital output ratio? So capital output ratio is the amount of capital needed to produce one unit of output. Means एक यूनिट आउटपुट का प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए कैपिटल का कितना प्रोपोर्शन चाहिए, ये हम किससे फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं? कैपिटल आउटपुट रेशियो. Okay, so agro-based industries have low capital output ratio. That is to say, they require less capital to produce a given output. In large-scale industries, being capital intensive, the capital output ratio is high. But agro-based industry being labor intensive require less capital investment. Thus, more production can be obtained with less investment. Besides, as the capital intensity of agro-based industries is low, then they can easily adapt themselves to changing the trend in the market demand. So we can say that agro-based industries are important in the way of low capital output ratio. Now, there's another point, that is low gestation period. Agro-based industries have no gestation period. Here, gestation period means completion period. That is, as compared to other industries, they start giving production in a relatively shorter space of time. In other words, the time lag between investment and production is less in the case of agro-based industries, and therefore they can increase the flow of essential goods like milk products, fruits and vegetables, eggs, etc. more rapidly, and thereby help in controlling price level of such goods. So in the agro-based industry, there we can say that low gestation period. The other is equitable distribution of income. It has been said that agro-based industries ensure a decentralized economy and a more distribution of national income. Agro-based industries require relatively less capital, and therefore a number of small and marginal farmers can start these industries. Besides, the ownership of these industries is more widespread than that of large-scale industries, and this paving way towards a decentralized economy. Besides, as these industries provide supplementary employment and income to the farmers, it ensures more equitable distribution of national income. The last is saving in social cost. The development of agro-based industry help in economizing social cost, as they discourage at present large-scale migration to cities and metropolitan areas. This helps in reducing social cost in terms of creating infrastructure like road, power supply, housing, sanitation facilities, etc. We know that if people are more engaged in the agro-based industry, they will not migrate from the villages to the uh, from the rural area to the urban area. अगर वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा माइग्रेट नहीं होते तो अर्बन एरिया की जो प्रॉब्लम है, पोल्यूशन की जो प्रॉब्लम है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की जो प्रॉब्लम है, सोशल कॉस्ट जो बेयर करना पड़ता है वो नहीं करना पड़ेगा. So these are the importance of agro-based industry that we have learned. Despite the agro-based industry being so important, its shortcoming cannot be denied. It becomes mandatory to discuss its limitations, or we can say shortcomings. So, if we talk about the problems of agro-based industries or shortcomings of agro-based industry, so first point is problem of finance. One of the most important problems of agro-based industries is the problem of finance. As institutional credit to these industry is not available in right quantity, they have to depend on private credit, which proves very costly to them, resulting in increasing cost of production, leading to adverse effect on their sales and competitive capacity. ऑब्वियसली अब फार्मर्स अगर एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री में फाइनेंस करना चाहते हैं और उन्हें फाइनेंस नहीं मिलता तो उन्हें अपने एरिया के रिचर सेक्शन से लोन लेनी पड़ती है और हाई रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट पे लेनी पड़ती है. अगर वो ऐसे लोन लेने चाहते हैं, फाइनेंस कलेक्ट करते हैं, तो क्या होता है कि उनका कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन बहुत हाई हो जाता है. तो जो अर्निंग और जो बेनिफिट और जो प्रॉफिट होना है, तो नेट प्रॉफिट बहुत कम हो जाता है. तो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री के लिए है प्रॉब्लम ऑफ फाइनेंस. The other problem for the agro-based industry is problem of marketing. Now, agro-based industries have also faced the problem of marketing their products. The problem arises because of the factors like small-scale production, lack of proper grading and standardization, inadequate market intelligence, lack of information in regard to changes in consumers' preference and market trends. Because of the lack of intelligence or the lack of information, कंज्यूमर का टेस्ट क्या है, उसको किस टाइप का प्रोडक्ट चाहिए. जैसे हनी बी कीपिंग जो इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, अगर वो उसको प्योरीफाई करके नहीं देते तो उनकी सेल नहीं होगी. और जितनी आजकल के लोग हैं वो प्योरीफाइड हनी मांगेंगे, तो वो जो बॉटल्स हैं वो क्लीनलीनेस, वो स्टरलाइज उनका होना ज़रूरी है. तो ये सब चीज़ें उनको आइडिया नहीं होता, जिससे उनकी मार्केटिंग जितनी होनी चाहिए वो नहीं होती. एज वेल एज inefficient holding capacity in case of overproduction or deficiency in demand. Sometimes they are not aware of the demand of the market. तो ओवर प्रोडक्शन और लेस प्रोडक्शन की प्रॉब्लम भी हो जाती है. तो मार्केटिंग रिलेटेड एवरी एस्पेक्ट जो उनको देखना चाहिए वो कवर नहीं कर पाते, तो मार्केटिंग की प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. लो लेवल ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. Many of the units of agro-based industries use the traditional techniques of production, which besides being uneconomical and time-consuming, leads to relatively poor quality of products at high cost. Besides, there is a very little of research and development in this field. There is also no effective arrangement for imparting training in emerging technologies. Lack of organization. There is no effective organization to represent the problem of agro-based industries for safeguarding their interests, and therefore they have to experience many difficulties. Another is inefficient functioning. Many of the agro-based industries are found to be functioning very inefficiently. It has been estimated that about 50% of their production capacity remains unutilized. In many cases, their managerial operation do not full conform to sound commercial principles. So these are the problems facing by the agro-based industries. We have to learn that how these problems can be solved. So we will learn the measures to solve the problem of agro-based industries. These are the measures to solve the problems of agro-based industries. Availability of the institutional credit and finance, improvement in production method and use of modern technology, emphasis on quality product and new design, industrial education and training, improvement in marketing. So we will learn in depth these measures in my next lecture. Thank you.